Hello, thank you for joining me here today on Edward's Journal. My name is Edward Roberts. I appreciate you coming to hang out with me. Today I wanted to discuss something that I've been thinking about a lot over the last couple of years, and that is why are old people so darn cheap? Thrifty. Tighter than two coats of paint, skin flints they are. And getting older myself, I have finally figured it out. Now, usually when I'm trying to figure something out, a mystery of some kind, I take to the goddess of knowledge Minerva, aka the internet, and I look things up. This was not something I've done any research on. This is not a topic I have thought about at length until it just hit me one day. More so, the cart before the horse. The answer sort of came to me before I even really thought about the question. And again, why are old people so darn cheap? Honestly, there's lots of factors. I used to think growing up, being young, seeing old people very tight ham-fisted with their dollars, I would make excuses for them based on a case-per-case basis of what I'd known that person had gone through. So I'd look at my grandparents and think, oh, they survived the Depression. I looked at my uncle and I said, oh, he lost almost everything he had in the stock market crash. I would see people that have gone through things or heard about family members that have gone through things. I wasn't friends with older people, so most of the older people in my life growing up were relatives. And that's honestly all I thought it was. It was they were a product of their environment. Looking back on it now, especially from personal experience and now that I'm getting on in years, I think it honestly has a lot to do with adjusting to inflation. When you look up an inflation calculator of what a dollar would buy you 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, it's pretty staggering. Personal story from me being a kid, I recall back in my day, I recall going to a grocery store, a corner store, and getting count them, two chocolate bars for $1. And that felt like great value. Now you'd be hard pressed to find one for anything under $1. They're usually hovering in the $1.10, $1.30 range. I've seen cheeky gas stations trying to get away with $1.50 to $2 for a chocolate bar. Outrageous, I tells ya. And honestly, I think that's where it comes from. For me personally, I just paid my household hydro bill, my electricity bill the other day. And one thing that was really shocking about it is for 2 months electricity, right in the heart of winter, was what I used to pay for a month's rent for my first apartment. So thinking about that, if you're not used to it and you haven't kind of rolled with the punches and, gone with the flow of inflation and realizing things cost more, it can really be a gut punch. Looking at that hydro bill kind of gave me a kind of moment as I, thought to myself, wow, that's a lot. But everything's a lot. My wife comes home from the grocery store with tears in her eyes half the time for how little we can stretch those dollars, feeling like what we used to get not even 5, maybe 10 years ago. So I think a lot of old people out there should be cut a little bit of slack. They've seen a lot of years of inflation, and I think back in their day, you probably got 2 dozen chocolate bars for 20 cents. So that puts things into perspective. But hey, let me touch on another point here just because we're talking about bills. And that is the Herculean feel I get when I pay those bills. Not because I love paying bills or I'm some sort of sadist that enjoys the punishment. It's the joy of being able to pay those bills. Did I like seeing that gigantic electric bill? No, but it felt good to pay it just because I could. I have memories of being poor, living on my own, not having a lot of money, being single, working a fairly menial job. Probably the worst was, the classic digging through the couch cushions for change just to be able to buy food. That was me. I have those memories. So let's cut the old people a little bit of slack here as I get on in years myself and I start to feel what it's like to adjust to this new world order of what things cost and how far you can stretch your dollars. Thank you so much for joining me here today. If you had fun hanging out with me, please consider subscribing to the channel and leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, know that you are very appreciated. Take care.